what that does, that crowds out the private sector. And who does it benefit? Well, it benefits the two ends of society, so to speak. It benefits the very wealthy, the 1%, and it benefits the the people who have become dependent on the state, who feel entitled. And don't get me wrong, the people at the top, the big corporations, the bankers, they feel entitled as well. Every time they have a problem, like they need a bailout or some subsidies, yes, they feel entitled. They say, oh, it's for the national good. Collectivism, it's the same thing. Thursday, May 15th, 2025, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, today we're going to look at the UK. I've been warning about UK economic collapse since 2021. I've got a playlist entitled UK Economic Collapse 2021 and Beyond. And there's 27 videos there. This one is going to be put in this playlist as well. And today I want to talk about one of the major reasons why the UK economy doesn't seem to get out of the hole. And it's got to do with socialism. And yes, why socialism is throttling the country. And I'll probably get a lot of criticism because most people, when they think of socialism, they think that it doesn't pertain to like corporations, the city of London. But I would say socialism has engulfed the whole economy. And I'm going to give you my opinion on what the main driver of this malaise, economic malaise, is. And I'm going to give you a fresh example of it. And before I do go deeper into the topic, just wanted to thank all of you who have subscribed to the channel, who have been following me for many years. We couldn't have this community if it wasn't for you. I appreciate all the support, all the nice comments from all of you. And I've looked in the studio, in the analytics, that a lot of you watch my videos but don't subscribe. There's an analytical tool that says about 45% of you that watch are not subscribers. So maybe think about subscribing. It will help the channel even more. And it will help us drive through this idea of alternative economics, which has a lot to do with what we're going to talk about today. So let's talk about this. Socialism throttling the country. And Britannia, she's wearing a blue belt that says prosperity. What is this? Well, I bought this from my local coin shop in Bromley many years ago. Peter Morris. I recommend Peter Morris. He's not a bullion dealer. He does more numismatics and collector's items. But he does sometimes get sovereigns, Britannias, for sale. He's got a lot of silver coins as well. Highly recommended. Peter Morris in Bromley, southeast London. But what's this about? Well, it's a poster for the British Conservative Party. Well, when they were conservative, of course, from the 1909 general election. It depicts an ape-like demon strangling Britannia, who wears the belt of prosperity with the caption, "Socialism throttling the country." And I have another playlist about the UK debt time bomb. And yes, it all started even before World War One with the passage of the Social Security Act, the state pension, I think it was called. And at the time, it was politically a good thing because most people never reached the age of 65. So it didn't cost much to promise a state pension to people over 65. And at the time, I think it was only men, if I'm not mistaken. But through the decades, of course, that's changed massively because people have lived longer and the population has become older, especially in the last 40, 50 years with the advent of women's lib. And that's another interesting topic because if you listen to Aaron Russo, who did a documentary in the US called America from Freedom to Fascism. And I would add fascism, socialism, communism. They're all really authoritarian systems. And we're going to come to socialism in a minute. But I would bunch them all together. But Aaron Russo, unfortunately, he's passed away. He was also the guy who produced Trading Places with Eddie Murphy, great movie. He became a friend of one of the Rockefellers, and I think his name was Lawrence Rockefeller. And he asked Aaron Russo, "What do you think of women's lib, this movement?" And he said, "Well, it was, yeah, it seems fair." And he said, "Oh, you're stupid." He said, we started that in the 60s. And Aaron Russo went, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, the Rockefeller machine got that going." And he says, "The reason we did that, Aaron, was because we wanted more taxpayers. We wanted to be able to indoctrinate the children because they would have to be in school for longer because the mothers would be working." And that's what it's done. It's have you noticed, like in the West, especially like in Europe, places like Italy, there's only, each couple has less than 1.5 children. So that's why this has become a problem. All the debt, all the big government, all the cradle to grave welfare state, like entitlements. And I'm not saying that a lot of people aren't entitled to it because they paid into it through national insurance here in the UK, Social Security in the US. But unfortunately, what governments always do is they steal your money. They take, you think you put your money in there for when you retire and it's going to be there with your name on it. No, they spend it before and they have to take it from current generations. So that's one of the big problems. And yes, the problem with socialism and fascism and communism is that they're against individual freedom. The individual has no freedom. Everything is done through force or coercion. Remember a few years ago when we had that crisis in 2020? A lot of the stuff was just coercion and bullying, and a lot of people accepted it. And that's the problem with socialism, and that's why the UK economy doesn't get off the ground, or other economies around the world. Some people might argue, well, the US economy has done really well. Well, only because they've been indebting themselves so much, running 6 to 7% budget deficits, which means the government is getting bigger and bigger, and therein lies the problem. If you look at, for example, government spending as a percentage of GDP, up until World War I, it was mainly below 10%. In the US, it was like minimal, like 3 or 2%. In the UK, it was a bit higher, but it was still below what it is today, which is almost 50%. So what that does, that crowds out the private sector. And who does it benefit? Well, it benefits the two ends of society, so to speak. It benefits the very wealthy, the 1%, and it benefits the the people who have become dependent on the state, who feel entitled. And don't get me wrong, the people at the top, the big corporations, the bankers, they feel entitled as well. Every time they have a problem, like they need a bailout or some subsidies, yes, they feel entitled. They say, oh, it's for the national good. Collectivism, it's the same thing. So what's the example that I'm seeing that shows that things are not going to change? And it doesn't matter if it's Rachel Reeves, the chancellor, or equivalent of the Treasury Secretary in the US, or if it's a Tory conservative chancellor. They're all socialists now. So and one of the reasons why the economy doesn't get off the ground anymore is that they keep digging and digging. And what do I mean by that? Well, the public, they vote for it. They think the government is there to get them out of the hole, bail them out, provide them with everything, like from cradle to grave. And by that, I don't mean everyone, but unfortunately in a democracy, you get the tyranny of the 50.1%, right, over the rest, and especially over those who, hopefully like you, who watch this channel, want to be self-reliant, independent, and not have to get handouts to create value for yourself and your family. But anyway, I was reading this here a couple of days ago. UK unveils backstop plan to force pension funds to invest in private assets. Chancellor Rachel Reeves threatens to mandate retirement scheme if they fall short of voluntary targets. How can it be voluntary if she's threatening them? So it's not voluntary. And this is not, whenever governments have new plans, you can bet that the effect is going to be the opposite of their intention. So this is just going to put private pensions in danger, in my opinion. Yes, I know they're asking these private pensions to put up to 10% of the funds in them in these private equity infrastructure, they call investments. But I think private equity, to be honest, is going to be the next big crisis, because the economy is becoming more and more dependent on private equity, and private equity is highly leveraged. And that's the other thing about the current situation, unfortunately, is that we don't have a sound money system, haven't had one in the UK since really World War I. And what that does, it gives more and more power to the government, to this socialist agenda, corporatist agenda, because they can just create a currency out of thin air. And again, the people in the middle, the people who want to live an honest, independent life, they get hurt because they're forced to hold this currency that drops all the time in value, like over the decades. And yes, so what I want to do is just go through the press release from the government website about this pension schemes back British growth. Yeah, they keep going on about growth, but the only way to get the economy going again is to actually shrink government and shrink government interference and delegation in the economy. And that's one of the principles that I try to espouse here on the channel is free market economics, small government. Its major proponent is the Austrian School of Economics, unlike the Keynesian school, which is part of the whole system now, right? That says a few mandarins or bureaucrats in Whitehall or in DC know better than you do how to run your business or how to invest your money. So it says here, Mansion House Accord unlocks up to 50 billion investment for the economy, with first commitments to invest in the UK. It says up to 50 billion of investment for UK businesses and major infrastructure projects is set to be unlocked through a new agreement with Britain's biggest pension funds as the government goes further and faster to drive growth through the plan for change. Well, it sounds very much like the 5-year plans they used to have in the Soviet Union, doesn't it? We know how that ended up, the Soviet Union. It says 17 workplace pension providers managing around 90% of active savers' defined contribution pension will sign the Mansion House Accord at a round table with the Chancellor and Minister for Pensions in the City of London today, Tuesday, 13th of May. Signatories to the accord will pledge to invest 10% of their workplace portfolios in assets that boost the economy, such as infrastructure, property, and private equity by 2030. At least 5% of these portfolios will be ring-fenced for the UK, expected to release 25 billion directly into the UK economy by 2030. So there you go. Yeah, the way I see it, this is just one of the symptoms why the UK economic collapse is going to continue. Am I a pessimist? No, I'm quite optimistic, but I'm just trying to warn you about what's going on so you can react in a better fashion to protect your savings and to stay as much as you can out of the system, of course. And how do you do that? Well, I've been saying that you need to have some hard assets outside the system. A couple of them are gold and silver, of course, but it doesn't have to be just gold and silver. You have to do your own homework. And one thing I've been telling people for over the years is that investing doesn't have to be in the stock market or private equity. It could be in your family, in your children. Yes, invest in them. That's the best thing. In my opinion, invest in people. And I think Catherine Austin Fitts even mentioned that too. So we kind of have the same idea. Of course, there are some small businesses that might be worth investing in, but the way government is interfering and regulating and taxing, it gets harder and harder, unfortunately. So the solution is to keep trying to wake the public up to the fact that there is no such thing as a free lunch, that when government helps you, they're taking something from Peter to pay you Paul, right? And it's such a simple thing, but many people are completely oblivious to it. They think they're entitled to everything, that government has to be there. And until that changes, unfortunately, we're going to continue to see the economy suffer. So what about the markets? Yes, we're seeing a big correction in gold and silver. Yesterday, silver was trading around 33, and then all of a sudden on the regular hour open on COMEX, which is around 8:20 New York time, silver just dumped out of nowhere. And yes, it is part manipulation and part just the way the markets trade. And I've been witnessing this since 2002 when I first bought gold and silver, and I worked in the financial sector. I used to watch the markets very closely, and then I started watching gold and silver. My main specialty, the core of my business, was the government bond market. But I noticed that these patterns almost every day at the same time, gold and silver would be smacked, and it hasn't up until recently. It had kind of changed, but yeah, that's the way it is. And I've always said that you need to hold on to your gold and silver for dear life, because they don't want the public self-sufficient and reliant and saving in real money. And yesterday, of course, I spoke about this BBC hit piece on gold, and it's not surprising. BBC is the mouthpiece of the state here in the UK. They don't want the public, the general public, to be protected. Of course, there are those like us, hopefully, luckily, will protect ourselves. But as long as they keep us to a small number, they can keep going with their welfare, corporatist, socialist, communist, fascist state. Because, yeah, that's the way it is. And as Alan Greenspan once said, yes, gold and economic freedom, right? And he said statists hate gold because it doesn't give them the power to intervene in the economy, because people who use gold as money, or nations that use gold and silver as money, are free, because yes, you can always withdraw your money from the bank, and government can't create it out of thin air, the currency. So anyway, it's 7:30 a.m. London time. We got spot gold. It's down another $40. Well, there you go. It's a chance for those of you who'd been waiting for a pullback to get involved. We're at 31.37, and we have to have some perspective, because in November last year, we dropped 2,500. So we're still way above where we were after the results of the election. So the low has been 31.20, the high 31.93. So and silver is at 31.90. It's down 33 cents. The Dow futures is down 180 points. The S&P future is down about 15, and the Nasdaq actually is virtually unchanged. It's down slightly. The currencies are slightly stronger versus the dollar. Let's have a look at the dollar versus the yen. That's down about 2/3%. Keep an eye on that. If the dollar continues to go lower versus the yen, or the yen strengthens, that could be negative for the overall financial system. I noticed that treasury yields are continuing to creep up, and that's a huge problem for the financial system. We've got the 10-year note now above 4.5, 4.53. I think yesterday we were around 4.45. And in Japan as well, the JGB yield is continuing to move up. It's almost at 1.5%. Doesn't sound like much, but when it was trading almost at zero 2 years ago, or even negative, 1.5 is a lot. WTI crude, that's down 2% actually at 61.30. And copper as well is down 0.75% at 4.62. So I'm going to stop right here and wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.